What's going on, casters? Dylan from Pandito Gaming here, and today we're going to be opening up the other half of our Scarabix bundle boxes. Now, if you guys missed the first part of this, we opened up Daybreak and some Shattered Stars packs and a live stream starter deck, and we actually got a few good hits out of it. If you haven't checked it out, I will add a card up here at the top so that you can go look at it. But for now, I'll skip ahead after I've taken some time to get these ready to open. All right, so guys, I'm back. I've gotten all this stuff together, and as you can see here, we've got our three Owloons from the blister packs. One thing I definitely like about Alestral's blister packs is the fact that they sleeve the cards. Now, this doesn't always keep them out of harm's way. I mean, you can see the sleeves are a little bent and messed up here, but for the most part, it keeps the cards pretty nice and minty. I like that a lot. But yeah, we'll set those over here to the side and start by opening up these loose packs from these blister packs. Moonrise, I think I called out both Moonrise and Daybreak as sets that I would be very interested in one of my recent videos. Well, several of them really. Tier listing which packs or which boxes I think have actual chance to move forward. Obviously, Daybreak with the news of the massive amounts of printing and the significant discount that Alestrals is putting on it. I don't really think that that is in the world of likelihood that that set's going to go up anytime soon. But my opinion on Moonrise stays the same, where oh, wow, we got 3 hits in a row. That is really good hit rate. 3 for 3 on hollows out of the Moonrise blister packs. But assuming that Moonrise does not come out with that kind of news, they do not come up with a crazy sale, putting it on massive clearance. There are only a couple thousand Moonrise boxes left on Shop Alestrals. I don't think they need to have that kind of a sale, but it is finally starting to sell at a price where wholesalers you can buy it from wholesale and sell it and actually make $1 instead of losing money. Every set from Alestrals after the map period so far has lost sellers money if they buy it from Alestrals wholesale. And don't get me wrong, Firestorm and Sunstrike, they have had some sales where you can make money from them, but like lowest listeds on eBay and TCG Player have always caused whoever's selling them to lose money on them, which is what has driven away a lot of the LGS businesses. And Moonrise is finally to the point where I think it's just about to pass that point where stores can actually buy these boxes and sell them to people and not lose money on it, which is crazy that that's something that's a state, but that's true in a lot of indie TCGs. It's true with a lot of TCGs in general, really. But yeah, so we'll check these box toppers first, just in case there's something crazy in them. Very unlikely, but you never know. So we'll start with this one over here, and we hit the Posthumous, not stellar. And the one over here, we hit another Posthumous, also not stellar. So, one of the better box toppers from the set, but nothing super special. We'll just move on. So I'm going to slightly shift these over so that we can actually keep our hits on the screen. And then, yeah, we'll go through these. Moonrise, similar to Daybreak, is a set that I didn't originally open a ton of when it first came out. It was something that I didn't have a lot of money that I had available at the time. I was putting a lot of money into Pokemon, trying to just get some stock built up in there. I don't regret not being very heavy in Alestrals at that time, but it is something where it's nice to come back to at this point to see all the stuff that's here. I think I believe I ordered 3 boxes of Moonrise when it first came out, and I opened all of those boxes. I definitely have a pretty decent amount of bulk and hollows sitting downstairs that I've held on to all this time. And something I'm noticing right away is the strength of wrapper difference between Moonrise and Daybreak. I thought I could tell with those blister packs, but I'm very confident after having opened a handful of these that these are significantly easier to open than Daybreak. I can tell you from opening Kickstarter and first edition base and Daybreak just now, those packs are significantly harder to open. Just harder on the fingers, easier for it to not pull along the spine of the pack. And, it's not that it's a huge deal, but it definitely makes me feel better knowing that I'm not going to have sore fingers after this, after opening 3 booster boxes. Not to say that I haven't opened more than that in one sitting before. I've opened, 2 full cases of Kickstarter before in one sitting, and I kind of regretted it afterwards. I ended up having some cuts on my finger after that. And on these older sets, I'll always check through the commons and uncommons just in case. Sometimes there's errors or crimp errors. I've mentioned before about the fully white card print error that I found in another pack in Frostfall before. So it's always worth just like shuffling through the non rares, even if you don't think you care about them. You never know what you could find. There could be something interesting in there. Oh, hey, look, and there's a Nobby. I actually got the Nobby plushie with that, and we hit our full art probably for the box, the Phasma core. Definitely an interesting art here. I do like the full arts from Moonrise. I do think some of them are a little too dark, where the printing, the ink, I don't think really uh, was printed as well as maybe the artist wanted them to be. And even though the set is supposed to be themed around lunar, more of a dark theme, I think some of them are just harder to see the details of. I could be wrong, obviously. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just getting old and have bad eyesight, or maybe I've just always had bad eyesight. Who really knows? But yeah, I think some of the forwards in Moonrise just kind of suffer from being printed a little more dark than maybe they were originally sketched out to be. But like you can see, like the corners here, it's hard to really tell what is going on in the whole picture. As we hit our hollow spirit, remember every single first edition box actually had hollow spirits as opposed to reverse spirits. I actually like that more, but I think the problem is that people didn't really understand um, how rare those cards really were, only being one per box. And a 1 in 8 chance of hitting each one is actually extremely rare to get those cards. Just they didn't really hold value. Um, and speaking of value, the Lunar Phase Full Moon was one of the first cards that was selling over $20. There were a few cards. Lavalith definitely hit that. Um, there's been quite a few actually. Ouroboros is the most recent one. The Aviolith champion card went crazy for a while as well. Um, Even New Moon was selling pretty well for a while, but eventually alternative arts came out for these. It was easier for people to find them, especially in an NDTCG. The super playable cards coming out in a set, there isn't as much draw. There's not as much collector attention opening boxes. So it's often either resellers or players who are opening the boxes. Not to say that there aren't some collectors, it's just not a huge amount of the pool. And because of that, especially, like a month after a set comes out, that resource pool starts to die down and prices will start to spike on some of the cards in the set because players will start buying them out and there's not anybody going out to opening packs that will replenish those. Or they're opening them and they're just not putting them on the market. I've mentioned before how collectors, resellers, investors, players, they all kind of work together in harmony in the market. And if you don't have people who are interested in opening the packs and people interested in sourcing the cards that people are opening from packs, then a lot of the cards that everybody wants start to be hard to find. And whoa, we hit our first serialized card on our channel. It is a serialized Snowlet number 33. This is super hype. This is actually one of my favorite stellars from Moonrise. I love the colors for it. Snowlet's just a very cute Alestral in general. We got a nice, looks like 8 swirls on the art. This is definitely a big hit. As I mentioned before, I'm considering these boxes as roughly free as far as I'm concerned, because we got the X out of 99 from the set itself. The Scarabix is easily paying for everything in my mind, and we happen to hit another serialized stellar on top of it. This is a huge win in my book. So very big hit. Definitely the biggest hit on the channel so far. And here I am just gabbing away, talking about, I don't even remember anymore. You're in the middle of saying something, you get a hit, and then suddenly you just lost all train of thought. But yeah, ooh, and Blizztrix, this is another card that was super valuable for Moonrise for a while as well. When it was the meta deck that everybody just well, not everybody, some people really hated the deck, but a lot of people really thought that the Blizztrix deck was very fun. It was a very polarizing play style, and Alestrals has come out and said they explicitly don't want blitzing style in the game in 1 or 2 turns kind of play. They want some back and forth in their play, and that's just something that the Blistric style I don't think will ever really come back. Now, obviously, there could be champion cards and remakes of the cards, but I don't think a lot of the cards from this set will actually end up, or from that deck will end up being playable again, just because it just doesn't match the style of play that Alestrals is looking for anymore. But yeah, I think Moonrise, when it first came out, it had a lot of really solid cards worth a pretty decent amount. But as with every other set in an indie TCG, the next set comes out, replaces a lot of the cards that were popular in that deck. People just kind of move on and forget about it. Now, I think we're probably getting close to the time where these kinds of cards start becoming nostalgic or interesting for people. We're starting to get a ton of new players and collectors into the game that just didn't exist. They weren't here when Moonrise came out, when base set came out, and then when Shattered Stars 1 and 2 came out. And so you're seeing a ton of interest in people collecting all of these old cards because they've never gotten a chance to actually see them to begin with a lot of times. And even if they're not playable, even if they've been out of the meta for months or a year, that doesn't stop people from being interested and being willing to spend, a few bucks to master set, just collect each of the hollow rares, where some of these hollow rares have been selling in the $1 or $2 range for a year or more at this point. Some of them never really even sold to begin with. So that's our first box. We got our amazing Snowlit serialized number 33 out of 99. It's one of those even round divisors. I think it's pretty cool. I have no delusions of expectations here that we will hit another serialized stellar, but hey, maybe we can hit a reverse. Maybe we can just hit some of the bigger hollow rares. Before I do that, we should do a quick count here. And remember, we had 3 hollows from the blister packs. We have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So we still hit our 12 hollow rares and our full art and our hollow spirit. So in this case, if you had been somebody who expected, hey, I'm going to hit 12 hollow rares, a full art, and a spirit, and you just happen to not open that Snowlit yet, you might have thought that there were no more hits to have. You would have been pretty disappointed after somebody told you they hit a serialized card in the remainder of the pack. So this definitely a hype moment for me. Phasmacore. If you're paying attention at this point of the video, if you made it this far, I want to know, what kind of hits have you guys had? What are the cards that you've been most excited about hitting? Have you ordered this bundle, or have you ordered any kind of just like creator bundle or anything like that? What's the big hit that you got from that? A lot of these times I don't expect to hit anything out of these. I just think I'm buying it for the promo itself. I'm not really expecting to get anything out of the packs, but it's a really nice, fun surprise when you get those. And we hit a Like Void Hollow right there as well. So yeah, Moonrise, it's definitely not one of my top sets of all time. I definitely think that the Divine Champion sets, they really raise the bar, and it's really hard for any of the first edition sets to compete. Now, if you were to ask me of the first edition sets, which one is my favorite, I haven't really thought too much about that. I am planning on doing a ranking video at some point of all of the Celestial sets for my own personal enjoyment. I'd probably have to go through the cards a little bit, but offhand, I do not like the Frostfall experience. I have had way too much. Oh my gosh. And we hit the full moon reverse stellar. You've got to be joking me. This is one of the best ones that you can hit. Um, in this set, there's every single one of the original lunar phases in a reverse stellar. I believe I hit the first quarter the first time I was opening them. But yeah, this is my second ever reverse stellar in Moonrise. And it's probably one of the best ones that you can get. Unless, I'm misremembering or it's been too long and something's changed. But man, that talk about a big hit to add to the pile. We are just cleaning up with this opening. I thought the last one was good when we hit a pretty decent card from both our Shattered Stars packs and our Daybreak. I won't spoil that in case you haven't watched it, but this is definitely way outpacing that. This is one of the best 2-box openings I've had, to be honest. If you guys have listened before, when I did my mass openings of Sunstrike, I actually did open 3 consecutive boxes that had X out of 99 Stellars. Not as good as some people. There is somebody out there who opened multiple consecutive X out of 10s or X out of 25 box hopper boxes. Kind of pushing my batching theory in Alestrals. But the idea of just like getting multiple big hits, especially serialized hits in consecutive boxes, like it's just a hope and a dream in that case, right? But hitting a reverse stellar and a serialized in sequential boxes, I think that's completely reasonable and realistic. We don't know what Moonrise's print run was, but we could probably assume that it's somewhere around like 12 to 15,000 boxes. We know that that Kickstarter was 10,000 boxes. We know that was raised a little bit for base set first edition, and then they went crazy on Frostfall and Daybreak and massively regretted it and reduced the print runs from there. But yeah, if my memory serves correctly, I believe there's maybe 13 serialized stellars in Moonrise. And let's just, for the sake of making this easier, say that there's 13,000 boxes out there. In theory, if that was true, which I don't know that it is or not, it looks like we have a carry-off full art now with our hits. But assume there's 13 X out of 99s. Assume that there are 13,000 boxes. That would mean roughly a 1 out of 10 rate for hitting a serialized stellar in boxes. Now, of course, there are also blister packs separate from that, so it's probably not that cut and dry. It would be way more complicated than that to know for sure what's your rate. But I would say Moonrise, assuming it's not a crazy print run and we just don't know about it, you're probably looking at roughly a 1 out of, we'll say generous, like very conservatively, a 1 out of 13 to 1 out of 15 rate. And that's assuming a lot of blister packs were created. But again, it could be 15,000 boxes. It could be 16, 17. Maybe it was 20 instead of 25. I don't think it is, just because of how many more Daybreak boxes there seem to be than Moonrise boxes left. The last time that I checked, there were over 13,000 Daybreak boxes remaining. And that's just way more than what you see for Moonrise, which Moonrise is sitting around 5,000 boxes. So, I mean, relatively speaking, you would think that the print run for Moonrise at that point should probably be closer to like 15, 16, maybe 17,000. Again, it's hard to know without some kind of official statement or some kind of distribution information. Maybe somebody got a case that had the number of cartons that existed out there. on it. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, there's not a great way to know what the print runs are without some kind of clue or hint like that. Um, so the exact print or the exact chances of hitting a serialized stellar in a set like this, it would just be hard to know without that kind of data. But either way, I think Moonrise's stellars are really solid. Not necessarily the best, but I do like a lot of them quite a bit. The original stellar that I pulled from Moonrise for my first case was a Cryptaurus. And for those of you wondering, that puts me roughly, I've opened a few Moonrise boxes since then. I'm roughly a 2 serialized stellars out of, I would say, 2 full cases, so probably about 12. So I'm definitely above rate, and I will not complain about that. But considering how below rate I was on Kickstarter, I think people will just have to be okay with the fact that I'm a little ahead on Moonrise, which is not really arguably in the same category as Kickstarter was. Um, but yeah, the stellar that I think I like the most as far as the X out of 99s is definitely the Ardbud. I love the coloration on that card. That's one of the few cards that I told myself if I pulled, I would just add to my personal collection and I would not put it up for sale short of like, really needing money or, being somebody offering me an obscene amount of money for it, like $400 or $500, I'd probably give it up. There is our holographic spirit for this. As I said, the pull rates for these pack wise are just nuts. I think these are massively undervalued cards from first edition. Now, could just be that no one ever wants them, and because of that, they never sell and they're not worth very much. But I don't know. To me, I think those cards are they're some of the rarest cards in the early sets. Now, how many of them do you actually want? Are people actually building a full spirit deck with them? Probably not. But I'm honestly surprised that they haven't taken off more. And when Kickstarter and base set first came out, they were worth much more than they are now, and they never really recovered from those lows. Now, Divine Champions doesn't really help because theirs are much more common. You get several of those per box, and a lot of times people just take what they know about the current sets and try to apply them backwards, even though that doesn't necessarily always translate, especially in this scenario. So we hit our last pack. There was nothing in that, but I mean, come on, you can't really be upset about a reverse, a serialized stellar, and 2 full arts from 2 boxes and 3 blisters. And just to double check on how many hits we got from this box, we got 11 hollows in this box. So slightly under. So in that case, maybe one of these replaced it. The Moonrise set we didn't get as much communication on how they randomize and replace things in this set. So it could just be that some boxes just don't have the same number of hits. It's more random and it's not pre-planned. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this opening and the last one. This is definitely the most fun opening I've had on the channel so far because we hit a serialized. What kind of hits do you guys have from your bundles? What is your favorite serialized card from Moonrise? Let me know in the comments. If this kind of content interests you, I'll be doing openings on a fairly regular basis because I open tons of cards and I have nothing better to do than to just record myself doing them since it doesn't cost me anything other than space to organize stuff. This isn't how I normally organize cards when I open. I'll have to figure out how to do a better organization pattern when I get there. But thanks for watching. That's all I got for you all today.